I'm out here reading Whitehead's student lecture notes from his first couple of semesters at Harvard University in 1925 through 1927, and he starts lecturing just before giving the public lectures that became Science in the Modern World. That was published in late October of 1925, I believe. And so you get to read, Whitehead really in the act of thinking, working out these ideas with his students. And, in a way, it's like what ends up in Science in the Modern World is like the results of a lot of creative, expression and searching and experimentation that went on in the classroom, captured by these student notes. But it's like you don't see, Whitehead doesn't show his work as much as he could have in Science and the Modern World. I mean, I just feel like there's so much that he articulates, in the process of developing the ideas, which he then writes about, that if he included in the book might have helped people understand. So, some of these notes are at times borderline incoherent, so you're not always getting the precise reproduction of what Whitehead actually said, but sometimes you're getting that, and you're getting at least a series of stones across the stream, as it were. And in those instances where there is controversy in Whitehead's scholarship about, what did he mean about this? What did he mean? Okay, if you really want to get into the weeds with me, and this is where I'm at. What did he mean by the individual and relational essences of eternal objects? And, to answer that question, we first have to understand what an eternal object is and why Whitehead found it necessary to refer to these entities. He has two basic types of entities, right? The eternal objects and the actual occasions. You could just reduce these two to objects and subjects. For Whitehead, to be an object is to be a potential for a subject. To be a subject is to be a feeler of and a concretizer of potentials. Right? So subjects and objects for Whitehead, they require one another. And so the whole point of his metaphysics, or at least, one of the criteria by which he says we must test our metaphysics is the logical test of coherence. And for the basic ideas of a metaphysical scheme to be coherent means that they require one another for their definition. Right? So for Whitehead, actuality makes essential reference to eternality, just as eternality makes essential reference to actuality. You can't have one without the other. And so when he justifies the category of eternal objects in these lectures and, in his philosophical works, I think the key for Whitehead is that we seem to be capable of finite knowledge, finite truths, right, about the world, seem to be available to us. Otherwise, science, modern hypothetico-deductive scientific reasoning, could not have been as effective and transformative of the world as it has been, right? And so the correspondence theory of truth, Whitehead thinks, is there to be contended with by metaphysicians hoping to explain the possibility of things. The fact that we can have knowledge, finite knowledge of an infinite reality, suggests to Whitehead, several things. One would be that there is a realm of entities which do not require any particular actuality in order to be themselves, right? And so there's something about an eternal object, a quality, which could be a numerical or geometrical quality, or it could be a sensory quality. Eternal objects are qualities that cannot be reduced to the particulars which exemplify them, right? And so this is, in a way, it's the old problem of universals and particulars. But Whitehead's trying to, he's ultimately more Aristotelian than Platonic on this question. He wants us to see the forms as in the things, not as before them or above them. Unlike Plato, for Whitehead, the ideal world, the realm of eternal objects, is deficient in actuality. Eternal objects in and of themselves are valueless, right? Value comes from realization, which is a form of limitation by virtue of the creative activity constituting the community of individuals that composes the universe. And so eternity in and of itself, right, is just, it's pure possibility. Nothing is realized. It takes what Whitehead refers to as the real togetherness of an actual occasion of experience for these eternal objects, these universals, these qualities to become important, right, to gain importance and value. And so, but the fact that we can have knowledge, right, for Whitehead suggests that the realm of possibility is organized. And it's organized precisely by, what Leibniz called incompossibles, I believe, which is to say that there are certain logical possibilities which are stand in contradiction to one another and cannot be jointly actualized, and that these incompossibilities, I think that's what it is, create a kind of, a hierarchical ordering of the realm of eternal objects, whereby you get certain, what Whitehead calls associative hierarchies, where they're like particular pathways through the realm of possibility that realize some finite system, and that particular realization would be incompatible with other finite realizations of possibility. And so there's some structure to, there's some intelligence to, and aesthetic order to the realm of possibility. And this is where, Whitehead's theology starts to come in, because it's like, well, what's doing the ordering? What principle is at play such that the realm of pure possibility has some tilt toward beauty? But again, when we start to speculate on what eternal objects might be in and of themselves, Whitehead wants to remind us that possibility is always found under conditions, namely the conditions of the actual occasion considering those possibilities. The entities that we think about may not be in time, but thinking is. And so while we can make reference to qualities, universals, which transcend any particular instantiation, that doesn't mean that these universals exist independently of the actual world. And so, Whitehead's trying to protect the possibility of finite knowledge of the world, right? Which requires that we be able to characterize the world in terms of concepts. And concepts have a certain abruptness, and they're broken off from the whole and allow us to, manipulate logical entities in a way that sort of presupposes an ideal isolation from a wider environment of disorder and unknown chaos. And the fact that that is possible to some extent, right? It's certainly not total. None of our knowledge is total. Like, it's all fallible. Scientific knowledge, at least, should be and is fallible. But it seems to work well enough that there's reason to believe nature has this definite quality about it. And so if it were just a world of process, with nothing that abides, and with nothing that distinguishes one occasion from the next, there could be no science, there could be no metaphysics, So Whitehead's here trying to account for the conditions for the possibility of what he himself, the enterprise that he himself is engaged in. He's trying to describe a universe capable of producing a describer. And he's not claiming to explain. That's important. And for him, neither is science. It should be about description. And description seeking elucidation, so that it's ultimately a kind of aesthetic endeavor. Both science and philosophy are modes of the refinement of perception. So while we do fashion concepts in order to, intervene upon perception, retaining that perceptual connection to the more than human world is really essential. And Whitehead worries that model-centric scientific materialism may forget to remain perceptually connected, right, to the universe, and imagine that the observer could be outside, even if the last 100 years of physics has taught us that there is no such thing as an outside observer. The universe, we need to conceive of the universe as not only a measured, but a measuring system. So, let me just read a few lines here. Whitehead says, every individual is essentially referent to the total community. And then he says, every specific, quote, what is always a, quote, what in the universe. And this reminded me of, Kant, and how in his one of his transcendental arguments is that there's an I think which accompanies all of our representations of the manifold of intuition. And this I think provides the transcendental unity, right? But for Whitehead, he's cosmologizing this Kantian transcendental philosophy by saying that it's not just the human mind that is in this relationship of providing unity to the world, but every individual is a unity of the world, a unification of the world. And so every what is a what in the universe is to say that every statement about the world presupposes a statement from the perspective or standpoint of some individual. And it's just that for Whitehead, individuals are being realized in nature all the way down, right? Where an individual is an organism with a standpoint, an experiential standpoint on the world. The universe saying to itself in a new form, here I am again. And that's all that the universe is a network of modal presences to itself, perspectives upon itself, saying, here I am again, here I am again, all in call and response, with one another. The individual in community with both an individual and a relational essence. Those are the offerings of process philosophy as Whitehead saw it, at least. So it's a hot day here in Sonoma. Hope you enjoyed that ride. Thanks for thinking with me.